Hey, Insider, we've got a special guest joining us today, Gemma from England, and she'll be sharing with you in terms of her journey on board the LMA course and how she was able to really transform what is on board this experience and this journey. And so, just so you're aware, Gemma, prior to LMA, she was experiencing anxiety and shyness, and it felt like the social anxiety was getting the better of her, especially in a lot of these different scenarios in which we got to be social. And she found herself almost isolating herself from these events where she can really, put herself out there. And in turn, the anxiety was becoming pretty crippling, which eventually led her to actually trying antidepressants. And she was beginning to lose that sense of hope in terms of, can I really be able to resolve this? And she was even skeptical of personal development before this journey. So Gemma, firstly, really appreciate you, sharing with such openness in terms of what's happening back then. You obviously clearly don't look like that right now in terms of what you was experiencing back then. But I want you to just try really best right now in your mind just to rewind back time. Back then, when it was getting the better of you, when you was feeling the cripplingness of anxiety, and when you actually tried antidepressants and so forth. Tell us more about that. What was you afraid was going to happen if you didn't do something to resolve these problems you're having in your life?
Cool. So yeah, back then I think I was struggling with three things mainly, and of course the biggest one, social anxiety. How I just was so completely identified by this identity of being an anxious person that I didn't want to go out anywhere. And often what would happen is that if I had an event planned, the anxiety that I had to go through before it just made it not worth me even trying to do these things. So that was the biggest thing. Um, Also problems of self-esteem as well. I had limiting beliefs about the way I looked, and that also made me want to hide away, and that also made me feel quite exposed when I'd go out in public. So those two reasons, self-esteem and social anxiety, felt very exposed when I was out. I just felt like people were looking at me a lot of the time when I was out, and I just wanted to hide away. Yeah, so and then the third problem that I was facing was just having a fear of the future, kind of stemming from those issues. I couldn't really see a way forward and wasn't sure what my path was in life. So as you mentioned, yeah, that's absolutely right. I was really, really struggling with social anxiety, and I made the decision that I wanted to change. But at first, I didn't want to. I didn't want to change myself. I wanted something outside of myself to change that for me, which is why I tried antidepressants. I just wanted some magic cure. And, I have people in my family who use antidepressants and it worked for them. So I was like, yeah, because everything is about the external environment happening to me. I've got to get something outside of myself to change my reality on the inside. So yeah, tried antidepressants, didn't really work. And I remember just saying, as you said, I was very skeptical of personal development because I felt like nothing was going to change from me talking about it, because I felt like I hadn't been through like an event that was traumatic enough to kind of work through with a therapist or whatever. Yeah, I just felt like the change had to come from outside myself. So yeah, really, really, really didn't want to try personal development at all. And yeah, it just got to the point where I was afraid that if I didn't change, I'd be staying in my shell my whole life. And I guess that was kind of, those worries were coming from my true self, my future self, who wanted to change and be more confident around people. And yeah, just wanting to take opportunities and not hide away anymore. And I was scared that I would get myself into a situation where I would just be hiding for the rest of my life and have so many regrets. So
Well, it sounds like your true self, your future self really like hit that brink point in terms of enough is enough. You wanted to change something drastic in your life. So you're skeptical of personal development. So the question is,
Yeah.
when you came across our advert for the first time, inviting you to a 1 hour long masterclass, what made you click and what made you actually attend that class?
Oh yeah, I'll never forget seeing that advert. And yeah, as a lot of people, as a lot of heart fluencers say, they find it when they're on YouTube, the advert comes up. And yeah, it's just your passion and enthusiasm just made me keep watching. And yeah, it was like you were talking about, you know, the fear of what could happen, making nothing happen in your life. And I was like, yes, that is me. What also really captivated me about that advert was that it it made me really curious as well, because you started talking about the past self and the future self, and I was like, with the diagram with the circles on, and I was like, what? I was like, how can I possibly act from my future self when that's in the future? I was just like, I was so confused, but there was the part of me that was like, I have to find out more. So it was that part of me that made me sign up for the masterclass. And yeah, it was that part of me that really wanted to just find out, because I could tell that you were so passionate about what you were talking about. So I had to find out what this meant, this past and future self thing meant. And yeah, and since I'm understanding that, that has been just such a massive change for me. So yeah, it was that that made me sign up again, the future self,
Right.
showing up through the ashes.
Okay. So you end up attending that class. And of course, at the end, you was presented a chance to join the actual flagship LMA course. So since you were pretty skeptical of personal development, if you were to be very honest, like what was your like biggest fears or doubts or skepticisms you had about this course? And what made you take that leap forward?
Cool. Yes, I was very skeptical, because I never tried anything to do with personal development before. And for me, it was like completely unheard of for me to spend like that much money on something. But again, there was that part of me that was like, what if it does work? Um, and another reason I was skeptical as well is because um, there were loads of interviews online, such as this one right here, but none of them were from like outside of like not posted by Success Insider. So I was like, oh my god, they're all posted by Success Insider. I
Mm.
was like, why is there? I can basically my survival brain was trying
Yeah.
to find reasons to make make it seem like, you know, it wasn't going to work. And I was like, oh, this seems really dodgy. And I think so many people do have those thoughts. They're like, oh my gosh, there were so many success stories, and every one of them sounded so genuine and so inspiring that I just had to take that leap. um yeah, I think that's it.
Right.
I just had to take that leap in the end. Yeah.
How, if you were to be honest, how long were you thinking about it?
So it was a good few days,
Few
and
days.
I
Okay.
kept going back on the website.
Mhm.
And I was like, should I not? And I kept clicking away, and it was like a good few days. I was like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. Yeah, so it took me around a week, I'd say, and then I
Wow.
went back, and I was like, yes. And then once I'd actually signed up, like I
Mm.
felt really good. Like I felt like this release. I was like, yes, I'm doing something for myself, and and you know there is the money back guarantee as well, so it wasn't too scary. And I just felt really good once I'd signed up. Yeah, I was just like, yes, I'm taking a step forward here.
I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate honesty. I mean, 1 week
Yeah,
thinking about it. uh,
yeah, 100%. So
I mean,
skeptical.
at the same time, you were new to personal growth, so I
Yeah.
don't blame you why you will be skeptical. I was at the
Mhm.
start investing in myself for the first time. So you did end up eventually investing in you, and you joined us on board LMA. Initial first impressions wise, like when you got started for the first time,
Mhm.
what ended up making you feel the happiest or the most excited about that decision you made?
Mhm. Well, I think again, just like in the advert, just like in the masterclass, you were so passionate and made things so exciting with all the stories and all of the amazing, you know, the slides just looking so good and so visual. Um, that was so exciting to me that I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't just sitting here just listening to like boring stuff about you know, how I can feel better. It's like really super entertaining. And at the beginning, I just remember chanting out my new identity label, just like under my breath kind of thing, when I was like doing random stuff. And I was like, this actually feels really good to read out this identity label. And I was like, maybe I am capable of becoming this person. So yeah, it was just the passion and the enthusiasm. And yeah, because I was working through the course at my own pace the first 1 and 2 weeks. By myself before the live session started. And yeah, so in those 2 weeks, just starting to read those affirmations, starting to read out my identity label, yeah, because it gives you real practical exercises to do to help. And it was just so great to start to say those out loud and actually start to feel them and start to feel a possibility of change.
Wow. Was that after first week or second week you began to see those changes?
I think I started to see small shifts after the first week, because I was reading out my identity label and I was starting to, you know, act with a little bit more integrity, starting to do some things that my future self would do. But week 2 was really massive to me, and it kind of just made sense. It made everything make sense to me, because I could see how I was identified by this label of, you know, socially anxious person, and I could see how the behaviors that I was, you know, doing was basically to make me seem like I was, because, you know, we try and act in accordance with how we identify. So I could totally see how my behaviors were geared towards making me seem more anxious, and I just wanted, you know, people to feel sorry for me as well. And then I kind of like learned from week 2 how you know, that's kind of like the ego wanting to feel like inferior or superior to others, to, you know, set myself apart from others. So I would say, yeah, week 2 was such a big shift for me, understanding that I am separate from my thoughts and my feelings and my beliefs. And I just remember being so skeptical at the start, because I remember writing down, you know, I really want to change, but I can't understand how I could possibly let go of my beliefs when I truly believe them. I was like, how can I let this go? I thought beliefs were fixed. But then I did start to let those go by taking actions and just knowing that I am not my beliefs, because I can observe my beliefs, so I can't possibly be my beliefs. So yeah, week 2, 100%, all of that amazing knowledge just helped me so much. It made me understand myself and where I was coming from and where my behaviors were coming from. Yeah, week 2, so good.
So week 2 allowed you to see how you had created this identity, and you was using this identity to strengthen these conditions you're wanting to let go of. And so it's that realization that allowed you to just free yourself in a way from yourself. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
100%. Yeah.
So you completed this course, yeah? You went and did it, and you have literally graduated. So the question is that we're all wondering, what sort of changes, differences has it actually made to your own life? And how's it showing up right now?
So I think the most incredible thing that I have in my everyday life now is just bringing that awareness into every situation. Being in that seat of awareness and choosing differently. So when opportunities come up now, I can just say yes. And when I feel fear, I can move towards that fear. And because LMA made me realize that I value growth, and that's really important to me. I keep growing. So yeah, in everyday life, bringing that awareness and making the decisions that my future self would make, and choosing to be my future self regardless of what is happening around me. Knowing that I don't have to wait for something to happen to me to feel a certain way, that I can choose to be like really radiant and hopeful and optimistic. So it's also really helped to transform the relationships in my life, because I'm not acting so down and out all the time. And I now have, you know, my mum asked me for advice now, and she's going through stuff because she's like, oh, you've learned so much about personal development. And I'm like, yes, I'll try and help you. I'm not Tim, but I'll try and help you. Yeah, so just making those new decisions, transforming the relationships in my life, but just so many habits that my future self has, and just having just being excited for the future instead of, being really, really scared and worried and fearful. And just, yeah, knowing that I can be my future self, and the simple realization that the person I want to be is my true self, and that the person I learned to be was, that's my past self and who I was conditioned to be by various experiences in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, just every day moving forwards towards my future self more and more, because I know that is who I truly am.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And in a way, we can feel it. Like when you're just communicating right now, we can feel the excitement.
Yes.
Right, we
Yay.
can feel the future self. All right. So, final question is for somebody watching this right now. They may be contemplating and actually joining LMA. So, what advice would you give to this person who's kind of like sat on the edge, maybe thinking about it and so forth? Having been there yourself, what
Yeah,
advice would you give to
100%.
this person right now?
I would say that there is a reason that you are thinking about it right now. There's a reason that you're on the fence, and the little voice that is wanting you to go for it, that is your future self, because you're here because you value growth and you want to invest in yourself and you want to be the best version of yourself. And all of those fears surrounding what could go wrong, it's too much money or you don't have time for it, that all comes from the past. And we have so many negative experiences that we go through. We're worried that something else will happen, but we have to make a new decision to see new results. And again, you don't have to say yes, you just have to say maybe. You do get money back guarantee. So that's awesome. But yeah, just knowing that your future self is the one who wants you to take the plunge and that you are truly your future self.